Hey guys. So this is a video for how to create the new Weirdo Shape. So it's kind of an update from the old Weirdo Shape, which is from game 110. So it just kind of goes further in modeling, and also gets you to revisit and revitalize that knowledge of how to model stuff in Maya. So for those of you that were new to Maya and didn't know about how to make the old Weirdo Shape, you're going through the video. It's fantastic. So this is the one that's going to help you to make the video, make the object that we did in class the other day. So pretty easy. We just start with a polygon primitive of a cylinder. We're going to squish it down so it's a little bit like a squish it down to about that. Not too much like a coin. And you'll notice that now we have everything all nicely set up. We can see our quarters right there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select this quarter here. We're also using radial symmetry, which is really handy, so that you can so you don't have to model the whole thing and everything gets very accurate. Accurate within itself, because Autodesk Maya is not AutoCAD. Then we press Ctrl E for extrude. We're going to offset it in first, about there. I'll hold down Shift also. That should make it even more accurate. And then we need another extrusion. So from right here, I press Ctrl E again. And then I hold Control, and then I bring out the thickness of the object. All right, now we're going to make the underside. So for the underside, we're still in face mode. We select these guys. Don't forget to deselect our little extrusion down here. Control E. Offset this guy in. Control E again. Bring it down. Control E again. Offset plus bring down. There we go. Looks good. Face mode. And we're going to select the top. And here, let's make sure we're not selected there. Good. Control E. Offset inside. Control E. Thickness about there. So this is all eyeballed. Now you'll notice also we have nice edges up here, and that is because we didn't have to do the fill hole. When you do a fill hole like we did in class, then you don't get any of those edges. All right, so get it as close as you can to this. Now we go into object mode, and we're going to create another cylinder. And let's look at it from the top. Press 4 in order to get to wireframe and scale this guy in. So what we want is we're going to totally eyeball this. So we want it to, here's the inner lip over there. So we want it to go about a little over this lip down here. Like that. And let's look at it here. Oh, no, we don't have it right yet. I'm going to put on wireframe unshaded and bring this over here. There, that looks good. So what I want is I want it to be just a little bit over this line over here. All right. And then let's scale this down. Bring this up a little. And now we want this to be flush down here. And you can see, if I look over here, that it's a little bit off. So to fix that, we hold down D to change the center point. We hold down V to vert snap. And click and hold on this top arrow. And then we aim our mouse right at this vert over here, because it's sampling that vert value. And then lift everything up. And after that, then we just hold down V, click and hold on this top vert, and then we aim our mouse right at this vert. And now if we look down here, it's all nice and flush. Huzzah! Alright, so now we have our cutting shape. Alright, saving. Remember, very important. Let's go to over here. And we're going to save it. Spring 2026. I'm going to do new Weirdo Shape for video. So when you're saving, you save it first with a regular save name. And then you can, after you've done that, you save it again after making a big modification. And you can do save scene as, and you can put _1 or the date, or you can just do increment and save. And what it'll do is it will add 0.0001 to the end of the name, and every time you do increment and save, it will increment that number. So remember to save frequently because Maya can crash. I remember a student once just worked in one file, went to load up their midterm, and all that loaded up was a single triangle. They were not happy, and I totally understand why. Okay. So now let's do the boolean. So we first select our main object, shift select our second object, go to pop-up menu, mesh, boolean, and then difference a minus b. And that looks very good. If something disappears, then just remember to go into edit mesh, merge option box, 0.005, 0005 threshold, click merge. After that, you then delete history, or go to edit, delete by type, and history. So after you do a boolean and it's working right, you'll notice you have these two shapes over here. I'm going to click on delete history, and we get rid of those two shapes. Because remember, you need to delete your history. It's always going to do that boolean operation because it's in the history. If you keep doing that, it can cause Maya to crash because it's just repeatedly doing that. I had one student once who didn't delete their history at all, and at the end of getting their scene what they wanted it to look like, it was really, really slow because they had a ton of history. So, all right, so we have this guy. The thing we want to fix here is this little overlap. We don't want this overlap. So I'm going to do some multi-cutting. So I'll go over here. I like to click and multi-cut by clicking in the middle and then dragging down. And then I drag over there, right click, click, drag down, click, drag down. There we go. Now, the next one is we're going to do a multi-cut right here and bring it down there. So over here, right click, over here, right click. Then we go into our vert mode. Now, in order to do this, we're going to be clicking on both these guys and snapping them over here and snapping them together. You have to make sure that you double click on your this little move tool here, and then we bring up our options, our tool settings, we open up move snap settings, make sure retain component spacing is turned off. Then we hold down V, dunk, snap there, click, shift click here, hold down V, snap over there, and look at how pretty that is. All right. We do have some n-gons that are horrible over here, but don't worry, we're not doing hard surface modeling yet. And now after that, we go into our object mode. We merge our verts. I put that on the shelf. Remember to do that. Shelf is Control and Shift, and then go to the tool up at the top and option box. You'll see it selected or show up, and then you go to Save All Shelves. So we're going to merge those verts, and then we're going to go to Delete History. And now we look at our top view. We go into our face mode. We select all these faces here. Hold down Control and Shift. Select all these faces and delete it. Go into object mode. Now you'll notice that our center point is right in the middle, which is fantastic. We had to move it around because our object had moved around. But if it's not moved around for you, just leave it right there. If you need to get it to the right spot, hold down D, V, and snap it right to the top over there. Let's go back to top view. Now we're going to do duplicate special. Save it. Edit. Option box for duplicate special. Make sure that we have it's set to instance, parent, translate should be 0, 0, 0, rotate should be 0, 90, 0, scale should be 1, 1, 1, number of copies is 3. So this showed up correctly because I had just done this before. So yours might be a little bit different, but make sure that scale does not have a -1 on there. You want it all to be 1, 1, 1, rotate to be 0, 90, 0. And the reason why the middle one is 90 is because it's rotating around Y, and Y is up generally. Click duplicate special, and we have all that stuff there. So what that did was, like we saw, we duplicated it all around. Then if we select a vert in one of these guys, you'll see it modifies the vert in all of them. All right. So we're all set there. This is where we stopped in class. The next thing that we're going to do in class is we select the whole thing. We go to Mesh, Combine. We don't do a boolean because we're just combining it. Then we go to Merge our verts. Then we go to Delete History. Bonk. Now you'll notice that if I turn off shading, wireframe on shaded, that we have a hard edge along over here. So that's a little disconcerting. We can fix that if we go to Edge. Let's turn back on wireframe on shaded so we can make sure we can see which one is which. And we select this edge, Shift select that edge, Shift select that edge, Shift select this edge, and then we go to Mesh Display and Soften Edge. Object mode, deselect, you can see it's dotted. And if we turn off wireframe on shaded, it's nice and rounded. Oops, there's another spot. It could be a drinking game. Every time I say oops, you have to take a drink. That's only for people that are legal to drink. There. And then I have it on my shelf. Soften, object mode, and now it's all nice and selected. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to UV all this. So remember, UVing is really pretty easy. Only took us 13 minutes to get so far. And notice how we also have these guys here. We already deleted our history. Did we? No, we hadn't. So I'm going to delete these guys. Oh, good. It didn't turn green. And then I'm going to save it. Actually, I'm going to increment and save now. Because now... Oh, we didn't make any changes. All right, small change. Increment and save. So, UVing is really quite easy once you understand the concepts of it. Remember that it's a bit like tailoring. There's a lot of projections. The main thing is we just want stuff to not stretch. That's what we talked about with the original Weirdo Shape. So for this, let's do the obvious first. We're going to select the top. Now notice also that this didn't have a hard edge, or this has a hard edge, but it's not going to be a problem because it's flat. It only shows up as a problem when we have a curved surface. Oops, darn it. So I'm holding down tab to do that. All right. Now let's press 4 to make sure that we have everything we want, but we don't. We want these guys. Dunk, dunk. Okay. Now, the question is, do we just want to do that, or do we want to think about the whole projection? So one thing we need to think about is, if we are putting a texture on here, we may want it to flow right into this section. And if it flows into this section, we'll want this section to flow into this section. So ultimately, we can be a little clever. Sometimes I'm clever. And we can ultimately do this whole area along here. Like thus. Right. So now what we can see is, if we're looking straight down, you can see we just have the top of it. And there we go. So now we go to our Windows, rendering editors, no, modeling editors, UV editor, or you can put it on your shelf. I like to have it on my shelf because it's easy to get to. And then we get this guy here. Everyone remembers this guy, the UV editor. Just make sure it's a little bit the right size. And we can see, whoa, look at all that stretching, how horrible that is. So all we need to do here is just real simple, just create, normal based. Look at that, that's pretty. And then unfold. That I don't think looks right. That's interesting. I was not expecting that. That's very interesting. That shouldn't have happened. Why did that happen, guys? You'd think that it would happen so that it would do a nice little circle right in the middle there. But it didn't. Huh. That is very, very unusual. So this one, so I'm just selecting the inside there, and then I'm going to do normal base there. Oh, oops. I just want that little section. So here you can see it's just in right over there. That unfold did not happen the way it was supposed to happen. That's very unusual. Logically, you'd think it would work that way. So here, see, I tried to be clever and it didn't work, darn it. I can't get anything right. So we'll try these again, and we'll do normal based on all these guys. And then over here, let's hold our right mouse button down, go to UV shell, click on this guy, do another normal based, and that looks much more symmetrical. And we'll do an old unfold. There we go. Okay. So then the only other thing that we could do here is we could do a move and sew. And move and sew is very handy if you want to move stuff and keep the, without actually doing another unfold. So what I would do here is I would select that one shell, hold down J, and rotate it so that we can see that it's rotating downward. And I didn't show this before in any other class, but move and sew is useful in that we have, let's see, oh, okay, so we want to make sure, notice how when I clicked on this, it showed this one over here. we need to see which edges are being shared. So right now it's showing 2. So we'll go to UV shell. I'll move it over here to this one. I'll select rotate. I'll hold down J. And I'll bring this down here. I'll scale it down. And that should be about right. And I go to edge, and notice how both of these edges are selected. Then I go to cut so, and then move in so. And it snaps those guys right together. That is what I thought it would look like. So what that does is that creates this very nice, seamless section that goes from here to over here. So that's a really nice UV right there. This stuff is so easy once you know how to do it. And like I've said before, everything is easy once you know how to do it. So all these guys should be nicely oriented correctly, I think. Yes. Let's see what happens if I just select these guys and go cut so, move and so. Okay, so let's undo that. It made it a little too large. So let's move this down. We just want to get this so that it fits in here. It's kind of the same size, like that. We'll do the same thing for these guys before we actually move and sew them. Okay, let's go around and move and sew these guys. Click on that one. And move and sew is also in another spot. I just happen, certain ones I go up here, certain ones I go down there. It's kind of silly. There we go. Cut sew. No, it isn't right over there. That's interesting. I'm not even going to go there. So I'm just going to go cut sew, move and sew. There's that one. Go over here, cut sew, move and sew. Sew, suck your toe. All right, so now we have that nice UV all set up. Now notice how when we go into the UV shell that as soon as we start doing this, it's able to recognize certain sections. So let's do these guys, and we can do these guys multiply. Although in this video don't have a lot of track record for being clever. Oh, now notice this. There we go. We need these guys all to be together. I'm going to hide this so I can move around a little easier. And that. And that. Good. Let's press 4. And we can see that we have the right selection. Go to our UV shell. All right. So, our UV editor. And now we just click on normal based. And unfold these guys. So these guys look kind of funny like that, but that's all right. So what we do want to do with these guys is rotate them a little. And I always move them off to the side before we're all done. You remember that from the first Weirdo Shape. Let's save. Okay, now the next thing is we're going to do this. So here we're going to do all around these guys. And we could do a cylindrical map on this. Or we could just do a normal based. Let's see how this works. Dum, dum, dum. And let's do normal based and then unfold it. We can also, all of these areas out here, we could select all the stuff around here. So the whole cylinder out there. And then Control and Shift and select that. So if we look here closely, we can see we have all of the kind of the outside of it. I guess we could also do this because it would be normal based. Yeah, let's try that. There. All right, that looks good. Then let's go over here. Let's do a normal based. Looks very funky. But the next thing we need to do is, I'm going to turn off the checkerboard. We need to go in here and we need to cut these guys. So put a seam on one of these. And that's our seam there. And then we go here and we select cut. All right. So why do we do that? Because we're going to unfold it. And UV shell. And we shift select those. And we just select all the parts that we had selected before. But because we have UV shell, it's helping us to select the whole group. And let's see how this looks. I'm as interested as you guys are. Well, actually, I hope you guys are interested. Unfold. Huh. Okay. That is not what I was expecting. Unfold. Okay. All right. This is good. Let's leave that there. I think that that's a little strange how it did that. Okay, so I'm going to now just select this guy right here, and then normal based unfold. So we have a circle on that. That's expected. Let's then go over here, edge, cut that one, and let's go to our UV shell again. Select that and unfold that. Hey, good. Now the world is making more sense. Whew. So here, if we look at it, you can see that it just unfolded all these little guys all nicely, all set right there. That looks great. And then let's get these guys, the extruded ones. More. There we go. And then normal based, unfold, and then good. That's what it's supposed to look like. Now we just move these guys down here. Awesome. Okay. Now, what do we have left? We have these. You can see it's in quarters. We don't want those in quarters. We want them all to be in one spot. So just normal base that, and it's done. Good. And you can also see that we have the textile density is still off. So what we have left, you can see these guys are not done. wait a second. Huh. Unusual. We did that. So I'm going to deselect this top part and just leave this part down here. Unusual. I thought that that would work. I guess unfold doesn't work exactly the way I thought it did. So I'm going to select that and move that over there. Okay. There we go. Now what's left is getting these guys. You'll notice too that when I UV something, you don't have to remember like, oh, how am I supposed to remember what I've UV'd and what I haven't? Pretty easy. All you have to do is just every single time you UV something, you just move it out of the way. So normal based, there we go. And I'm just going to move this so it looks a little like it makes sense. We're probably going to have to rotate these guys later. And so we can see here that the stuff we haven't finished is right here. So if I go over here and look at it, oh wait, no, nope, that's not true. It's actually the only stuff that we have left to do is this guy right over there. Yep, that's right. So first, I'll do the top. Always important to make sure that you haven't selected anything you shouldn't. Normal based. Bring these guys down so we know that we've done them. UV shell. Now all that we have left, press 5, is this. That one. That one, 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 there. 4. Normal based, and these little guys. Move it out of the way. Is that? Let's unfold it. Did I unfold it? There we go. Unfold. So I'm going to move them so they're not on top of each other. Because if we did a texture, sometimes you can put things on top of each other. But if you want the whole space to be unique, the texture will, it'll write over itself. So. Not good. Okay, so we have everything UV'd. Let's increment and save. And now we're going to layout. So click on layout. There we go. All right. Now, what it's doing here is it is doing everything within the proper textile density. So you don't want to go in here and increase the size of stuff. That wouldn't be necessarily good. But you could also increase the textile density if you went in here and you cut this part. However, if you cut that part, you have a lot more seams. And you don't really want to do that. But if I were to cut that, just to give you an example, hopefully I understand how Maya works a little bit. Cut, UV shell, what I think it would do, yeah, is the layout would get a little bit bigger. The only problem with that is that you would, like I said, you would have a little bit of an edge over there. And what we want to do with our textures is we do want to make them, rather seamless. So a lot of this, this is all manual UVing. You can, if you use a program like Substance Painter, it will kind of do this all for you. But it's really, really, really good to know how to do this. And once you know how to do this, it's super easy. So this whole project here has taken only half an hour. And then we're going to merge our verts, delete our history, and we'll double click on the name, new Weirdo Shape. And there it is. That is our new Weirdo Shape, all nicely UV'd and ready for the prime time or something. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in class.